All right. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Asia Bonacci, and I'm a librarian at Tompkins County Public Library. I worked with Carla Ray Johnson to bring her exhibits, the Arc of the Moral Universe and Arc of the Viral Universe Notebook projects. And the artist joining us this evening, Amie Oliver, is one of the artists involved in the project. Amie, can you remind me if you were part of the viral notebooks or the...
I was part of both.
Okay.
Yes, but my second one was the digital one.
Yes, right. And that is on display in the Avenue of the Friends on a monitor that people can view when they're visiting the library. So, Amie, I'm going to turn it over to you because I'm sure you want to get started. So whenever you're ready, you can share your screen.
Thank you, Asia. I appreciate that. I want to thank you and Carla Ray for inviting me to do this because I feel so connected to both of these projects, and my biggest regret is that it's been difficult to travel up to see them, and so I do hope that I will get to see one or both of these installations at one of their locations. It's complicated making plans these days, so yeah. Thank God for Zoom, something I knew nothing about 2 years ago. Right. So we are all artists, and that means we are fairly adaptable, and I'm grateful for that. So this has been a new thing to learn and to enjoy as an artist and as a teacher. So hi everyone, thank you for tuning in tonight for this brief presentation on single page pamphlets. I like the word zine because I like the way it works with Zoom, and it makes it easier to find my files. But I don't, I think of zines as being things that are published. They relate more to magazines, the word, I think. So I consider them to be more journals and improvisations on our journey that we're going through. And I think probably one of the first kind of zine pamphlets that people are familiar with, that they don't even think of it in that respect, or remember the days of maps. And maps are actually, many of them were designed to work as pamphlets until you unfold them, and they gave you an idea of where you were going. Imagine finding your way before GPS. And we all did it. So I first became interested in these kinds of journals when I took a workshop with Keith Smith many years ago at the Visual Studies workshop, I believe. And in Rochester, and Keith is a true book artist, and has been publishing books on all kinds of binding, and I was fortunate to work with him pretty much not long after grad school, and so I love the idea of binding a book without adhesives. Adhesives are one of the first things to fail in printed books. And so this is something that fascinated me. And I spent a week working with Keith and a small group of artists in Rochester. And this is the kind of thing that you see in his books, these lovely detailed diagrams and variations on themes. And so it's been a great resource for me for many years. This is his latest book. You see a picture of it here on the right, sewing single sheets. And it's really about making making books for your digital photographs or prints or original, single sheets where it protects them. And this is a book that's on my list. But I have had journaling students who have had success with some of his techniques. So it's gotten very good reviews from folks that I know. And this is his website on the bottom if you're interested in his books. He's still doing his thing up in the city. So not long after I did this workshop with Keith, I was fortunate to receive a grant to participate in an art workshop in Scotland. And I was able to participate as an artist, and then eventually I took students on a fairly regular basis. And it was in conjunction with the Glasgow School of Art, so of course I've been very, heartsick about everything that's happened there. But one of the things that made a huge impression on me when we were there, we always scheduled our trips during the degree shows, which are in the summer, at the very end of the summer. And every student would have their own kind of gallery. And in the middle of each gallery was a pile of journals, journals from their 4 years in art school. And I felt it was such a gift to be able to look through them and to witness their creative process. And so that made a big impact on my students. And that is, it was a very fortunate, generous thing to be able to witness in those exhibitions. And this was before art became more global. This is when there was still regionalism in a sense that places did things differently. And art magazines were not quite so easy to get your hands on, certainly before the internet. So during one of these trips, my journal disappeared, the one that I took with me. And it was, and after you leave the city in Scotland, there are not many places to buy materials. So this is an image of one of my groups at Stonehenge, and this is on the other end of the UK, on the right, up in Orkney. Because I didn't have access to another journal, I just had to use some of Keith's techniques to make my own. And this was, I wound up using cardboard, and I do not remember the source of this paper, but it very well could have been the style of toilet paper that one could purchase in Glasgow. It's about the same width. It's a different beast. It's a different beast at that time, the paper and the different properties that paper had. It was before you could get, like I said, before globalism. And so this was kind of a variation on what we're doing tonight. This was an accordion book with cardboard covers, and I made a stack of these that were the record of our journey that summer. So this is a detail, so you can get an idea of the fact it was kind of referencing the stones, referencing the Pictish stones of Scotland, and just the natural textures of the place. And so I continued to work with single page books and upcycling materials that were relevant to the project that I was, the booklet that I was making. And earlier this, I guess you could say in early 2020, after everything shut down, we were asked to propose classes that could be taught via Zoom. And I'd always wanted to teach journaling class, but I wasn't sure if if it was something that was appropriate for the classroom. And so I proposed a journaling class for photographers, writers, and artists. And that is what I have been doing via Zoom since March of 2020. And I've been working with a group of artists, of different, all kinds of people on a fairly regular basis every week. And that has led to, introducing them also to some of these techniques for very simple single page pamphlets and zines, because I don't necessarily require them to have any kind, one specific kind of book, because they all come from different places. And so some people work completely digitally, and other people come from the perspective of a painter, printmaker. So this is one of the basic structures that I use in the very beginning of the class. And this piece, this is a 6-page booklet, and it's made using one sheet of paper, close to 8.5 by 11, and it's kind of uses origami techniques, because everything is the sheet of paper that you have. And if you have a sheet of paper and you would like to make your own, this is a good time to kind of get it out with your with a pair of scissors. That's the only thing you really need for this first booklet is one sheet of paper and a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife. The other thing I really love about this kind of booklet is that it's a great way to take something I don't want to look at anymore, that I've made a media experiment, something that's overworked or something I don't know what to do with. And when I convert it into a 3-dimensional kind of sequence, it completely changes. And it's something that has become part of my process. So if you have your piece of paper, what you want to do is you want to fold it in half, vertically and horizontally, and be sure to take time to, when you fold it, to use your thumb, run your thumb along the fold and kind of give it a crease down the middle, vertically and horizontally. And after you've done that, you'll wind up with a kind of a W, with a mountain in the middle. So you fold it in half vertically and horizontally, and then you fold each end back towards the middle fold. So that will create 4 sections. You should have 4 sections when you look at the paper, sheet of paper, horizontally. 3 folds and 4 sections. So
Amy,
yes.
I do have a question in the chat. Someone's asking, does it matter if the paper is a square or a rectangle?
It will change the proportions, but it really, no, I think you'll get something very interesting. It doesn't matter. Thank you for asking. I actually like working with squares. After you have scored your paper horizontally and vertically, and then you fold the ends back toward the middle, so you have the 4 sections. This is when it becomes interesting. Sorry, I went ahead. Now what you need to do is you need to take your scissors and cut along the horizontal fold. So this fold, you want to not all the way through the paper, but just through the middle section. You want to cut this fold right here in the middle section. You can see here. And so what that does is it's going to create a space that you will squeeze into itself after after you've cut it. And I have some other examples here. So I will, I'm going to go on to the next slide to show you how, what you wind up with. And so you wind up with a pamphlet that which you can reverse. You can use, you can really focus on both sides. You can just refold it if you prefer the other side, and it depends, of course, if you're using new paper. I think that using paper that has something on one side makes it a little easier to keep track of where you are in the process, because to be able to see the negative space within the fold, I think is one of the fun parts. So you squeeze those two ends, this end and this end together, and the paper will open up, and you'll have like a big mouth. And those are, you continue bringing the center of the folds together, and they will create this shape. And I'm going to go on to the next slide, because I have another example that I think is shows the series just to kind of in a different way if the other wasn't clear. So this is the same process, but a different just a different sheet of paper, centered horizontally and vertically, and with the ends folded towards the middle. So and after you've done that, you cut the center fold from one side to the other and push those two ends together to create the mouth. So here you can see it from two different angles. Are there any folks out there that has anybody gotten, had success? It's kind of a fun sort of animation. I tried to create an animation of the mouth going back and forth, but that is just it was a bit beyond what my technology could accomplish.
Anne is saying hers didn't line up at all.
Well,
I'm not sure if you want to share. Well, I guess we're still viewing Amy's screen, so I guess that won't be possible. But
so one of the reasons it's good to use the folds to center everything is, and particularly depending on the kind of paper that you have, I find that making a few of them, and because the paperweight will it's easier to throw off the angles because the paper is harder to crease. So that's one of the, if you have like origami paper, one of the reasons origami paper is so thin is that you can make a very clean, sharp fold and do very intricate shapes. Whereas this paper is Bristol board, and Bristol board is going to give you a more of a sculptural object, something that can stand up on its own, more like this. I have another one here that's got color in it, and so maybe that will help. I will go through the steps with this one. Okay, so you have your piece of paper, and it's folded horizontally and vertically, and the ends are folded towards the middle. and then this middle piece is cut. So after you've cut this middle piece, fold it towards the side that you want to be on view, okay? And I want the color to be on view. And then you have this opening, and then you take the ends and you squeeze them together, and that creates a star shape. Okay, and then when you have the star shape, you really have some flexibility as far as what image you want to focus on, which one you want to be on the front or back. You can really change your mind. You know, you can, I think most of the time, people decide what's vertical and what's horizontal, or what's on the top and what's on the bottom, based on the openings and the folds. So you sort of have to do it a few times, and you begin to anticipate how it's going to interact with your with the artwork or the image that's already there. And then after that you've created your booklet, of course, you can cut into it and alter it and use both sides, which that's one of the things I really like about this origami zine. It's almost like a pamphlet. You can seal the ends and use it as an envelope. So I hope it is that. Should I go through that again? Will anybody like me to go through that process again? So
you can
yes.
Feel free to mention it in the chat or raise your hand if you like.
Yes.
I think maybe people seem good. Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, terrific. So this is a very basic zine origami pamphlet that you can use as the foundation. You can combine it with others. Let's see, I have some others here that you can combine to create a more complete. Here's one that I've done out of vellum. It's kind of it's a vellum made by Yupo, and they become very sculptural depending on the kind of paper that you construct them out of. Okay. Are there any questions before we move on? Because this is the simple binding, and the next one is a little more complicated. Okay, I'll move on. This is a simple diagram, a few simple diagrams of the process that the next structure relies on. It has more folds. I use generally larger paper, like 18 by 24, when I'm going to use this technique, because it creates something like this that is more of a booklet and with more pages. I've created booklets with up to 32 pages using this technique. With this booklet, what I really love is taking a piece of dinged paper. Let's say a piece of paper I bought several years ago that I spent too much money on, and it's too complicated to really stretch it or take it back to its original state. So I find some of that nice but imperfect paper to be terrific for creating this kind of booklet. This is a good example of that here. And so this uses the technique that you see diagrammed on this slide. So what you want to do is you want to take your piece of paper and you want to fold it in the same way as the previous piece of paper. You want to fold it in half, and then you want to fold the ends back towards the center. You can see this is in this example, you can see, so you take the paper, fold it in half from long end to long end, and then take the ends and fold the ends back toward the center. You also want to fold it from side to side. So it will have, this is a good diagram of here at the very, very bottom of the number of sections that you'll have after you folded it. So it should be folded in half vertically, and then it should be folded in half horizontally, and then each end should come in to the middle. And then after that process, that the cuts that you see are different because they're going to allow you to create a continuous accordion fold that results in a book with more pages. So up to 16 pages. This one is for a 16-page pamphlet, but if your paper is large enough, you can make a pamphlet up to 32 pages or a journal. So I have some video that I'm going to go to if that helps. But I think this is a good place to kind of at least make some notes on your paper. I think this diagram is here on the bottom is very useful because after you've cut the paper, it's going to create a kind of an M on the side. So you cut one side through 3 of the folds, and then in the middle from the other end through 3 of the folds, and then back again. And so you alternate the direction of the cuts, only cutting 3 sections when you go. And then the fun part is folding those sections onto themselves, which I think the video will be helpful for doing that. You can see in this diagram, after it's been cut, starting with the left-hand corner, folding the end towards the middle, and then folding that over onto the next section.
So Amie, somebody
Yes.
is asking if you make all of the cuts in the diagram from the top image down to the bottom image, or are folks just making
That I think that
the 3 cuts, you know, in the very bottom?
And the very bottom. That's a very good question.
Okay.
Because these are all variations on. These are variations on this style, and this is the one
I see.
that we're going to focus on today. Is the one on the very bottom.
On the very bottom. Got it. Thank you.
This is a review of what we've just done, and I'm going to go through it kind of quickly. This is a single sheet of paper that's folded vertically and horizontally. I find the folds, if you do the vertical and horizontal initially, that it makes it easier to match everything up. So your folds will match up better after you've finished the process. Everything will be centered. So this is going from vertical to horizontal. And this is very thick paper. I think it's Bristol board, and so I really have to spend time creasing it, so it'll come together easier towards the end. Here, folding the ends towards the middle, and once again matching everything up. And you're using those center folds to help line everything up. Here I'm folding the ends towards the middle, exactly like you did in the first zine. Just has a different step, you know, 2 more folds, as well as different cuts. Okay, so now what will happen is we've got the same W that we had before, but we need to make 2 more folds where the sides are going to come towards the middle. So after doing that, you'll have, you know, a long, narrow piece of paper. And this is when now you're ready, after you've creased everything very thoroughly using a ruler or your thumbnail or whatever tool works best for you. Of course, people who are bookbinders have all kinds of special tools that they use for this process. But I'm very hands-on, and once again, I usually wind up making these when I'm on the fly and using whatever materials are available. I'm just going in and checking, you know, working on the folds, increasing the folds because of the weight of the paper. Okay, now you're ready. You have the sections, and now you're ready to use your X-Acto knife or your scissors to make the cuts that turn this into a kind of an M. And what you'll do is alternate the side of the paper that you begin on. So does everybody have their folds?
Seems like it.
Okay.
That video was very helpful to me.
So you've got your folds, and now you need scissors or your X-Acto knife. And I like to use a straight edge to line up against my folds. And so here I'm starting, and leaving that last section. You want to cut across 3 sections so you can see the fold there when I fold it up. Now one alternates and you switch to the other side of the paper and you cut through 3 sections beginning from the other boundary or edge of the paper. cutting through 3 sections and leaving the last section on the other side. And now going back to your to the other side. There's always some resistance on the path of progress. There we go. So now you'll have 2 cuts and three cuts that start at different sides of the paper, and you wind up having a kind of series of accordions. And this is the fun part. And so you begin on the bottom left-hand corner, whichever makes, depends. I think that whether you're left-handed or right-handed or the kind of table you're working on, begin to one of the corners and start folding these sections, these pieces onto themselves to create an accordion. And then when you get to the end, the part that's been uncut, that's when you fold one section into the other. Please let me know where you are with this. I would love to know any questions that that folks may have. If I can help in any way, I think I have a few more examples at the end of my slides, but there we go.
Oh, that's great, Michaela. Somebody posted that theirs came out really well.
Oh, good.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I think if you want people to show it, you might need to stop sharing, but I'm not entirely.
No, it's true. I just wanted to pull these up at the very end, and then I will stop sharing. So this image on the left shows really, books throughout history that, as well as contemporary variations on this theme, that play up this idea of the accordion fold and a pamphlet and there are so many possibilities. And on the bottom right, I wanted to share with you my favorites. This is this shirt that you see here. This is a talismanic shirt that's in the Himalayan art collection at the Virginia Museum of Art. And it is my favorite piece in the entire collection at the museum because it's made from one piece of paper, and it's a shirt made out of very fragile. It's a sacred shirt made from paper that has the entire Quran written on it, and it is a beautiful thing, and it's very fragile and can only be on display for a certain amount of time. So they sort of rotate it within the collection, but it is a beautiful example of a variation on folded paper and making an object out of one piece of paper.
Thank you for sharing. Somebody did ask that their folds are not working. Some pages are closed at the top and some open. I mean, that's kind of what mine looks like too, but I think that's the way it's supposed to be.
It is. It's kind of a do-si-do. Are there any other questions about the process or paper or anything else? I want to say how what a pleasure it is to talk to you all and to share something that has been a part of my process for a long time.
Hello.
Hi.
Hopefully it's okay. I'm on my phone instead of my computer.
Oh yeah, no problem.
So I was able to make kind of more of a small pamphlet with some pastel paper, and this worked out a lot better than the first time around. So this was really great, and I was using a bone folder to help with the creasing. So if anyone was having problem with that, so
yeah,
but it was good.
I noticed that you really do, like Amie said, you really do need to be very careful with your folds and your creasing, which I think with a little practice I will get better at. But well, great. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Amie. I think folks would be really interested to see that PDF and also share the titles of those books again, which I can touch base with you and get that author's name and the titles of his books, and I will email that to everyone as well.
Terrific. Thanks everyone for taking time to play around with this technique, this process.
Thank you for joining us this evening, and I hope everyone came away with a little book that they can do something with, or at least a process that they can keep using. And I will be in touch with that information likely tomorrow or early next week. Have a good evening.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.